Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action. Today we're here with the cute, cuddly Skaven, going to be taking on the spiky and nasty Warriors of Chaos, so let's go ahead and jump straight to the army compositions. I've got Lord Skrulk here, as he is probably the best Skaven Lord choice, in my opinion, in most matchups. Lore Plague makes him a very strong caster, and of course both his items means he can put out a ton of direct damage, both to characters and to blobs of units, so he's very strong in that aspect. We've got him backed up with some Rat Ogres and an Assassin here, some additional Rat Ogres over on the far side. We've also got the obligatory Plague Furnace here, stripped of all its spells just to cause damage in the front line, and we've also got a Hell Pit Abomination. 4 Clan Rat Spears, 2 Clan Rats with swords. We've also got a Skaven Slave Slinger up front, and in the back, cool little unique bit to this build, we've got 1 unit of Plague Monks and 1 unit of Death Runners. So Death Runners are a unit that I don't typically take very often. They're a very good unit though if used appropriately. They don't have the best combat stats, 36 and 36 with the strength in numbers active, 30 weapon strength with 22 armor piercing, so they're pretty decent against armor. What makes them really good though is this Weeping Blade. It's a minus 50% armor debuff. Now, almost all the other, in fact all of the other armor debuffs in the game are a flat debuff number, either 30, 60, or, so on. This is the only armor debuff in the game that's percentage based, which means it scales very, very well against very high armor targets. Things like Ragnarok Queens, Steam Tanks, Iron Breakers, things that are in that 120 plus kind of armor range. These guys are going to scale incredibly well against them, and when combined with Wither, you can take even the highest armor units in the game down to below, 20 armor or so. So very, very powerful indeed, if used appropriately. Now, they are very squishy, only 20 armor, a little bit of physical resistance, but nothing really to write home about. 30% actually is pretty solid, but they're still very squishy. You need to use them appropriately. We've also got the Warp Lightning Cannon, which, since we're on a nice open map, can be very useful here. So without further ado, well, I guess with further ado, let's take a look at the Chaos build first. We've got 2 Chaos Knights with Lances, supported by 2 Hounds in the periphery, 1 here and 1 way out on the far side. Mainline infantry is a mix of Forsaken, 2 Chaos Marauders, and 3 Chaos Warriors with great weapons. He's also got a Chaos Sorcerer of Death and Archaon the Ever-Chosen. So interesting to take 2 casters, but he's gone nice and cheap here with Archaon. Brought both the items and just the Burning Head, no other spells, and not even the lore attribute from the Lore of Fire. And then most of the magic is going to be going through the Deathcaster here, who's got the Spirit Leech, Fate of Una, and the Forbidden Rod, which will do quite a bit of damage to himself, but will allow him to get more Winds of Magic over time. So without further ado, for real this time, let's go ahead and kick the battle into full gear. And we have been focusing on the Deathcaster with the Warp Lightning Cannon, but we're now going to change targeting and try and focus on these Chaos Knights with Lances, because they are a very, very big threat to me. Chaos Knights with Lances are one of the best elite tier cavalry in the game. Although they don't have anti-large bonus, they just have excellent raw combat stats at 42 attack, 34 defense, and an 80 charge bonus, which is absolutely insane. They also have 120 armor, and they have more health, importantly, than many of the other heavy cavalry units in the game, such as Grail Knights and so on. So they're probably one of my favorite units in the game overall. All of my favorite units in the game are probably heavy cavalry, but they are taking some nasty fire there from the Warp Lightning Cannon, doing very well so far. You can see Forces of Chaos are going to be advancing all up across the line here. We're doing a little bit of shenanigans to try and protect this Warp Lightning Cannon as long as possible, obviously. It's a relatively expensive investment, and right now it's paying dividends, just blasting those Chaos Knights with Lances. Meanwhile, this other unit of Chaos Knights with Lances here kind of blundered into the forest a little bit, didn't notice my Clan Rats and Rat Ogres here, so we are going to be able to catch a few of the unit models and drag them down here. So free damage is free damage, and I'm not arguing with that, but the Forsaken and the Marauders are crashing into the front line now, as well as the Chaos Warriors with great weapons in this main area here. We're going to push through with the Plague Furnace and the Hell Pit Abomination. You can see also zapping those Warriors and Marauders. But my opponent doing exactly what he should, starting to Spirit Leech down this Plague Priest. He's going to need to take it out as quickly as possible if he wants to have any hope of winning this battle. Meanwhile, in the back line, you can see Plague Monks getting caught up by the Hounds here, and a devastating charge from those Chaos Knights with Lances are going to just completely annihilate those Plague Monks, not to mention a Fate of Unit being cast as well there. So yeah, they're off the field, but these Death Runners are actually a more expensive unit, and currently they're fighting in on these Chaos Warriors with great weapons, doing pretty decently considering they're saturated with the Clan Rats here. They are going to be able to get that Weeping Blade effect. You can see only 50 armor on these Chaos Warriors, and now we're going to be dropping that Overcast Plague of Rust. So this is what I was talking about with the stacking armor debuffs here. These Chaos Warriors literally have 0 armor right now, so even these Clan Rats with spears with their pitiful stats are going to be able to make a little bit of contact here and do some damage. So if we had the Plague Monks here in the front line, that would be even better, because Plague Monks are really good against low armor infantry. But as it is, 0 armor on these Chaos Warriors is quite impressive, and it does mean that we're going to be doing alright, although with the Chaos Knights now supporting in the front line, my troops are starting to buckle a little bit. You can see the Rat Ogres over here taking quite a bit of damage. We've managed to keep the Warp Lightning Cannon online, though, importantly, and it's still firing away at those Chaos Knights with Lances. Likewise, over here on this side, the Rat Ogres had been able to do quite a bit of damage to those Chaos Knights, but then they escaped, now turning their attention to the Forsaken, who will take a lot of damage here, although they will be able to dish some damage in return, just because Forsaken have great base weapon strength. Their total weapon strength is 63, which is just crazy. 14 of that is armor piercing. But yeah, against low armor targets, even large low armor targets like Rat Ogres, they will do quite a bit of damage. In the main line here, you can see these Death Runners have racked up 36 kills against mostly Chaos Warriors, so not too bad, although they are a little bit expensive, but still, they've been able to trade relatively well here, all things considered. Hell Pivot Abomination is being pulled back in the back line to help protect Skrulk here, because Archaon was getting a little frisky trying to go after the Skrulk man himself, so we're going to have the Hell Pit Abomination on station to be able to take down Archaon. We also got the trophy heads on him from the Assassin, who is over on the other side, not currently doing his job of actually protecting Skrulk, but what's Skaven to do? We've got the Hounds coming in here trying to bog down this Hell Pit Abomination, but again, we're just going to keep aggressively pathing after Archaon and doing as much as possible. Even Skrulk himself getting a little bit of the fling of the old Plague Flail there. Yeah, these Forsaken and Hounds just relentlessly pursuing. You can see almost all the support units are gone at this point. We do have some Clan Rats over chasing a little bit over there. Rat Ogres have been rallied, and here in the back we've also got Plague Monks and some other units rallying as well. Overall, it's mainly just the Skaven Heroic Death Star at this point. We are going to be able to summon up some Clan Rats at the very least with Skrulk, because he does have that summon, of course. And we'll soak up some of the cinematic action as, oh man, that Chaos Sorcerer just batted down Skrulk like it was nothing. What a savage. But yeah, at this point the Forbidden Rod has been used a couple times, and this Sorcerer has also just taken some damage from other various sources. And at this point we're going to use the last, well, not the last cast, I guess. I thought it was maybe the Libri Bubonicus there, but it looks like just the Rod of Corruption being used to do a ton of damage to all the units in this pocket. Those Hounds being terrified away by the Hell Pit Abomination, and the terror from the Hell Pit definitely being very key at this point. My opponent didn't bring any terror-causing units, so that's very favorable for me, definitely. We're having leadership issues regardless, but for now, Skrulk's relatively healthy. His Hell Pit's right by his side here. We've got this Assassin kind of bogging down this pocket here with these Rat Ogres. Very hard to see him in all this chaos, but here he is. No pun intended. But yeah, the Warped Lightning Cannon was shut down, but the cannon crew has rallied, most importantly. Very nice Burning Head going down, routing off those Skaven Slave Slingers and Clan Rats. You can see the Chaos Knights with Lances are still online. Bounce power slightly in my favor because we've been able to do quite a bit of damage to Archaon, but at this point, things are looking pretty decent for the Skaven. It's still pretty close, but the Chaos Knights with Lances, you know, they're just not going to have the damage to get through this Hell Pit Abomination, and right now Archaon's probably wishing he had fire damage. Because the Hell Pit Abomination has a standard regeneration trait, does mean it's 25% weak to fire, so if Archaon had brought Flaming Sword of Ruin and Kindle Flame, then he could really be putting a hurt on this Hell Pit Abomination. And I definitely recommend, if you're going to be bringing Archaon against the Skaven, that you bring Flaming Sword of Ruin, because Hell Pit Abominations are, I think, pretty solid in this matchup overall. You do have some counters here. You can see Archaon also gets a really nice charge here. Bats Lord Skrulk in the face. Skrulk's down to only about 800 hit points, and Archaon's sitting pretty at about 1500, but if he had that Flaming Sword of Ruin, he could definitely stand and fight this Hell Pit Abomination a little bit better. As it is, though, he's going to be fine. He does have the a Helm of Domination, so he's going to be immune to psychology, and also give all the other units in his pocket immune to psychology, so they won't be terrified. But just the leadership at this point for the Chaos units is having a hard time holding up. You can see a very nice play here from my opponent to extricate his Chaos Knights with lances, then immediately pull around for a very nice rear charge here with these Clan Rats, who are currently slugging it out with the Marauders. Going to be getting a devastating charge there. But Archaon himself, as soon as that last cast of the Liber Bubonicus comes online, he's going to be in trouble. And most importantly, we did get the cannon crew back on the Warp Lightning Cannon. So true heroes of the Skaven here. These cannon crews pushing this thing around. And oh man, I never noticed these like Warlock engineers in here with this little spyglass and everything. It's super cool looking. But they are going to be opening up shots first on this unit of Chaos Knights with Lances here. We're going to fast forward just a little bit as this Hell Pit Abomination moves out of the way, and then we'll start opening up shots here. So yeah, the Chaos Knights with Lances are going to be priority target number 1. Archaon, obviously, if we can get a hold of him, but he's going to be a little bit harder to hit, and one volley there pretty much takes out about half the remaining unit models of those Chaos Knights, and they rout. So with that, we're going to just briefly try and target over here on these Chaos Warriors with Grey Weapons, since their leadership's relatively sturdy. They've also got about 2,400 health with 47 unit models left. We're going to lose some shots over here and see if we can't get some nice damage in. Obviously, the Warp Lightning Cannon's not meant as an anti-infantry artillery, but it still can do some damage. And not really sure what happened to that Chaos Warrior, but he's vaporized, I guess? Like, properly vaporized? That's interesting. But anyway, I decided that Archaon's probably a better priority target here, so we're going to switch the Warp Lightning Cannon onto him. This is pretty much like the scene from The Last Samurai, except, you know, it's Skaven shooting a Warp Lightning Cannon at Archaon rather than actual samurai. So, yeah, it is going to be a victory for the Skaven at this point. You can see Archaon bringing up a Burning Head, but it is going to just barely rout off at the last second. And a very nice cinematic shot to end things out there. But, yeah, fun stuff. Well played to my opponent. Hope you guys enjoyed watching that battle. It ended up being a very close battle there in the end, with Archaon almost pulling out the win. And I definitely understand, you know, bringing the Death Sorcerer ended up paying out because they were able to take out the Plague Priest relatively early on in the battle, and that gave my opponent a fighting chance. You can see the Forsaken did very well also, 150 and 80 kills. Likewise, Chaos Knights with Lances, 87 and 117. These guys are going to be very, very strong against the Skaven as long as you can keep them in the right position and not get bogged down. The key is, yeah, to not get bogged down by, you know, the chaff units, because then Rat Ogres, you know, the Hell Pit Abomination, other types of specialty units can get in there and do a lot of damage. But my opponent, for the most part, was able to collapse my formation pretty effectively, mainly just the Warp Lightning Cannon there, and then obviously Lord Skrulk being the G that he is. The Plague Priest was able to get 65 kills while it was alive, and then, yeah, overall, not too many units really standing out here besides the Warp Lightning Cannon. I mean, 48 on the Death Runner, solid overall. But, I mean, obviously the kill totals for my opponent are going to look more impressive because I just had more unit models overall. But still, you know, it's tough. Maybe it would have been worth having the Kindle Flame and the Flaming Sword of Ruin on Archaon. Even if you end up using most of the magic with the Death Sorcerer, just in case you run into a Hell Pit, I think it's worth it to have that extra fire damage. Particularly, you know, just the Flaming Sword of Ruin, particularly with the Kindle Flame, is so strong at regenerating units, taking them down. So I definitely like my opponent's army overall. I think I would just fine-tune things a little bit there, and maybe some terror option would be good. You know, you'd have to kind of retool things a little bit here, but also not the biggest fan of Chaos Warriors with Great Weapons in this particular matchup. I think if you go Sword and Board, you're honestly better off, just because Skaven don't really have any armored infantry besides Storm Vermin, which you might see in this matchup, but you can honestly take care of Storm Vermin with your specialty units, with rear charges from Chaos Knights, and so on. So I honestly don't think that the Chaos Warriors with Great Weapons are necessary here. I think it's maybe better to go with the shielded variant to give you that missile block chance and better melee defense. Just a few thoughts, though. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you like this kind of content, feel free to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification button so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks once again for watching, and we'll see you next time.